Okay, and let's try this again.
Welcome, students, to Monk Meditation, the show about monks in the world of Warcraft.
Imperator Margok is on the chopping block. 6.1 PTR changes everything. And buckle up, Mistweavers, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. This is Monk Meditation, episode 40.
Here's your host, Chai T.
Hello everyone, this is Chai T from Airy Peak, US. Mistweaver and Windwalker doing both. We have a lot of stuff to get to tonight, so I'm going to go straight into it. Let's check in with tonight's host on how WoW is now in
Storm, Earth,
and fire!
Alright, I'm going to start tonight with our guest. Monkio from Midwinter is back with us again. Monkio, how you doing, sir?
Doing great. How you doing?
Doing good. How's WoW going for you, sir?
Pretty good. You know, we're just trying to, last week, Highmaul, hopefully, for a while, and we're just trying to get as geared as possible for Foundry. You know, and I'm very looking forward to the PTR changes that are coming from this week or so. Hope to talk a lot about that soon.
Yeah, we will be talking lots and lots about that. Alright, Duke, Boats and Hosen, how you doing?
We are doing fantastic. We got Twin Ogron down early on Tuesday, and then we spent all of Wednesday and Thursday wiping on Brackenspore because he's a pain in the ass.
Yes.
We got about 40 pulls on him. We probably need about that many to get him down again, but we're looking at basically just calling it quits there with 3 of 7 Mythic and hit Blackrock Foundry like it... Just hit it as hard as we can, go through Heroic, go through Mythic, blah. Go through Mythic, and then we head back into Highmaul and finish it off, hopefully before the tier goes away.
I was just watching his mind wheel spin of like, what can I say I hit it like that I'm not going to get in trouble for? All right.
Yeah, basically.
Like, look at you, Mythic rating. It's like you're growing up, talking about
I know
polls and like strategies. It's so nice, so cute.
I know. It's like I'm a full-on grown-up. I got my keys and credit cards and friends.
Wow.
Duke, next time you need to think about hitting, be like, hit it like Fonzie hitting a jukebox. And then it'll work.
How old do I look?
I'm younger and I still know that.
That's timeless. That is timeless, okay?
All right. Speaking of timeless, Air, how's it going for you, sir?
It's going well. It's going good. It's going well. Welly good. Been running out of Ashran lately. I want that transmog gear, so that's been kind of a big thing for me. Spent a lot of time camping rares. I have 4 out of the 7 Pandaria Drainer rares. And, oh yeah, so, you know, working as intended, we're Mythic, you know? But it's like, hey, we got Blackrock Foundry coming in a week, so we're just relaxing, having a good fun week, getting some recruits in, because it's what we need to do, and so it's kind of a relaxing week, so I have all this time. So I decided to change my off-spec. I am no longer a bad Mistweaver. I am now a bad Brewmaster.
Yes.
So this is great. So I switched, and the first thing I did, I spent literally 5 minutes running around Stormwind throwing beer. Then I went out somewhere, found a rare, and I threw beer at him. And then I hit some more buttons because my action bars weren't set up. And somehow I blew fire at him, and he died. So, am I doing this right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he died and you didn't. That's called success.
I didn't lose any health. It was amazing. Like, I can see why people like Brewmaster now. This is great. So
it's
good stuff.
It's kind of funny. Like,
the best part for Air, though, was we're in our group me, and it goes, okay, I need some help. I need to find some good sites for how to be a Brewmaster. And I don't know if Icy Veins is any good or if I just hang out in MMOC, and I just type out 8 little letters. Sun ears?
I was set up within 10 minutes of going there because obviously it's like, at a bus stop, where do I pick up the bus?
Yeah. How about you go over there at Brewmaster Mart?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's sorry, Sunny.
It's all good.
You helped me out.
Brewmaster is so
Thank you.
much fun. It's so much fun.
And I think now, does LeBlue have his off spec as Mistweaver? I think so.
He does have, yeah, LeBlue is Mistweaver.
Yeah.
LeBlue's off spec, I think, is still Windwalker.
Okay, so for the official characters, I am the only one that has Mistweaver anywhere.
Yes.
No, I have Mistweaver off spec. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Guanshu.
Oh.
Awesome. Well, because of that, sir, I'm going to you next. How's it going for you, sir?
I've been pretty WoW light lately. I kind of cheated on my raid team with a board game night. They may not have known that I was playing board games all night instead of raiding.
Now.
No, they don't. None of them listen to the show. I'm the only monk on the server.
I
swear.
thought that I'll have a story about that. I thought that too. So, good luck.
So I should stop talking crap about my raid team. Let me write that down.
Yes.
No, but it's been a pretty wild light. We haven't got any new bosses down, unfortunately. But we're having fun,
It's good.
and that's what it's about.
Exactly.
When you're not the mythic guy in the party, this is great. I can be like, I have fun and I do things differently than everybody else, and then LeBlue tells me I'm right, so it works out.
Eventually, he comes around. So Rolling Thunder is working its way up. Currently 3 of 7 heroic now. We're spending about half the time gearing up some recruits and prep for Blackrock Foundry. And I don't know how this happened, but since Duke is actually switching to a Death Knight, that leaves me as the only leather wearer in the raid. And I swear I didn't set it up that way.
Really, it really wasn't a plan.
Right. It was not a plan. It
Then
just
again,
happened.
We
all of that-
believe you.
Yeah.
all the leather in Highmaul sucks. So
Yeah,
you can
this is
have it.
true. But going into Blackrock, I'm still the only leather wearer. But hey, if anyone knows a druid DPS, send them my way, and I guess we'll take a scumbag rogue too. We have to do something with the daggers, I guess. Rectified, we got 2 hours of solid pulls on heroic Imperator. Imperator.
Impregnator.
No.
Isn't it Imperator?
Yes, Imperator, sorry. I hate that boss very much. That is not fun. Actually, it is fun for like the first half, and then it's like not fun, and that's when you wipe, and then you get to spend the fun part doing it, which then becomes not fun because you've done it 8 times, and yeah. But
This time the wheels just fall off 10 minutes into it.
right. We've done 6 of 7 the last 2 weeks. We cleared first 6 in like an hour and a half this week. So Rectified's doing awesome. So funny story. Last episode, I said something when we were talking about Korag, indicating that my tanks were jackasses. Because they like to run and blow my ass up. So they
Shenanigans were had.
Yes. And here's the funny part. They spent the entire raid on Friday trying to kill me, and they never succeeded. Except for when we were wiping, obviously. So, and Skype tells me there's a problem with this call. That's fantastic. Eric goes bye-bye. Yeah, so they spent the entire raid trying to kill me, and then Rectified didn't even try it and killed me 3 times. So, you guys are doing it wrong. LeBlue pulled me into just random crap the whole night and never managed to kill me. It was great. All right, well, I think it's time to get caught up in the crazy... Yeah, you'll have to try harder next time. Time to get caught up in the crazy whirlwind of WoW news in...
Dizzying haze.
Okay, not a lot of news going out, but the couple hot fixes went in. Haste scales higher now providing 1% of haste every 90 rating instead of 100. What did this do to our stat weights, gentlemen?
Haste everything. Forget multi-strike. Yeah?
Only if you're Chi explosion.
Yeah.
Basically, it did very little. Like, I think everything moved a couple of like percentage points here and there.
Yeah.
This priority stays the same. If you're in Serenity, you want multi-strike. If you're in checks, you want haste.
Right. Monkey, did this do anything to our Mistweaver stat priority?
No, Mistweaver's step priorities remain the same. Haste was pretty bad. It would have needed a significant buff, way larger than it got to to come anywhere close to even surpassing crit. So no, nothing's changed for Mistweavers. Still kind of a not very good stat for anything but Crane Stance Chi Explosion.
Yeah, it's like I was sad listening to this news because of the amount of haste that is in the Highmaul gear. I go so quickly because my spirit is so low. And so now it's like, oh, now I get an extra 10% faster Fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, it's going to get worse too.
Yeah. There was a lot of haste on the Blackrock Foundry gear, but at least there's a lot of multi-strike. So...
Yeah, I think the best in slot list I put together for Mistweavers has Multistrike on pretty much every piece.
Yeah, there's like one piece of the set,
the
tier piece. We don't get it, so.
Yeah.
Haste for Brewmaster is pretty bad, if I recall correctly, right, Gonshu?
Well, it's historically been bad, this expansion, but if I remember when I was talking to LeBlue, he was saying that it has become slightly better. With this change, I think he was talking about it last week a little bit. I still don't like it. I really prefer sticking to what I'm used to. If it's not broke, why fix it?
Right.
I do a lot of damage on top of being able to survive through a ton of things that most other tanks can't. So why mess up that delicate balance of like helping my raid get the bosses down and surviving through the whole thing while eating a pizza and drinking a soda.
All right, and there was one major bug fix that went into effect, and I don't know if I noticed this, but it might explain some things, why I die when I shouldn't. Apparently, if you were instant casting Surging Mist on yourself while you're doing Soothing Mist on yourself, apparently it wasn't doing any healing.
Well, it was a very special circumstance that you had to go under, which really isn't that rare, where you're soothing on someone else, and then you switch to yourself and immediately cast the surge. For some reason, sometimes it wouldn't cast it on yourself. It wasn't always doing this, but there were cases where it did happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's happened a couple times to me, and I thought it was a little weird. But that's been fixed, so now you should be able to surge yourself all night long.
I just love the wording. It's like should no longer cause.
Right.
Yeah,
should.
yeah.
They don't want to. Yeah, they don't know. If
How
they caught
about
the
now
bug.
causes healing?
No,
We
that's
fixed the
bug
bug.
fixers there.
Oh no, there could be another bug.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it's time to keep those spirits up. Your spirits up while the world changes around you. In.
The sky is falling! The sky is falling!
Uplift. Don't worry, I'm sure it happens to other monks too.
So last episode, it was the sky is not falling. This time, I think I agree with Coltrane on some of these things. All right, PTR patch notes came out. Lots of changes. Lots of good changes and lots of what? So let's go over that first. So this patch is mainly focused on talent changes, bringing each tier up to par. So that way you actually have interesting choices, which I applaud them for. They may have gone overboard on a couple of places. So let's talk about Ascension first. This is a Mistweaver thing. Instead of increasing maximum mana by 20%, it's going to increase spirit by 10%. And there was a question here whether this counted as unbuffed spirit for the mana T change. We don't have confirmation, but I would assume yes, that is the mechanic they are going for.
Would be a safe assumption, yes.
Right. And we'll have a lot more to talk about that when we get to the mana T changes. Let's see. Breath of the Serpent, Mistweaver, healing increased by 50%. So that might actually be useful now in certain situations.
Oh, it's pretty significant, yeah. If I don't know if you want to do it now or we can do it later. The numbers, from what it looks like, it's going to be almost like half a revival, depending on how much, kind of how many targets you can hit with. If you can hit the whole raid with it, it's about as good as half a revival. So with half the cooldown, so
That's
really
not
good buff
bad.
there.
Yeah, there's very few fights in Highmaul, anyways, where you're stacked up like that. I can think Bracken Spore,
Right.
and that's about it. Where the entire raid is stacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Highmaul...
Maybe Imperator sometimes. But
Imperator sometimes, yeah. Blackrock Foundry, though, has a few more situations where we can use this in, right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's going to bring that up to par, I think. It might be useful. Chi Burst damage has increased by 51%. Also fix a bug that causes damage and healing to vary based on specialization. So, Chi Burst. I use this in a couple of encounters already, and 51% is a huge buff.
So excited.
I think in most cases right now, Chi Wave is probably better because it's a nice fire and forget. Chi Burst is only really useful if people are grouped up, but I can see Chi Burst being the go-to talent now in fights like Butcher, where the other team's on the other side, and it's always going to be up at about the third stack, regardless of whether it's your team or their team.
Yeah, but just like we were talking about Breath of Serpent, there's a lot more fights in Blackrock Foundry where you're going to be stacked. And so just a quick step back and a Hadouken will hit most of your raid team plus the boss. That's going to be huge.
Well, keep in mind, this is only a buff to the damage that Chi Burst is doing, not the healing. They're doing a fix where the damage and healing may have varied a little between specs, but the big buff was just to its damage. So it's mostly a Windwalker and maybe Brewmaster change.
Okay. And that damage doesn't eminence, if I recall correctly, because it's a dual nature talent, right?
Not sure. Think so.
Yeah, I think dual nature, when they heal and damage, it doesn't do it. So.
Right. No, it shouldn't.
All right. Chi Explosion. Again, Mistweaver. Healing while in Serpent Stance is increased by 40%. And now usable while channeling Soothing Mist. And I just got a little shudder.
That's the big one. Yeah. This is the big one. It's very, very significant. The fact that you can channel it, probably the bigger than the actual buff to the healing is doing, is that you can channel it while using Soothing Mist.
Yes. And
that interacts very well with the 2-piece tier bonus. I actually forgot what tier number we're on at this point. So 17? The next tier bonus that we're getting, the 2-piece, it works really well with that. And for anyone who doesn't know, like the 2-piece is that for every, I think it's second that you channel Soothing Mist, or for every tick, you get stacking multi-strike buff.
Yeah, you get up 5% for every tick you do. So it starts with there's 8 ticks total, but the 8th tick is the final one. So it's every so you get 7 ticks, and then you can have a 35% buff. Haste will also increase it, so you could get an 8th tick. So you could get up to 40% bonus multi-strike, and then cast a 4-chi Chi Explosion at the target you're soothing.
Right, and that's significant. You know, even if someone was suggesting that, I think it was Supplifu was suggesting that the bonus healing granted to Chi Explosion in this buff might also include the healing orbs that it spawns.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Not sure about that, but even if it doesn't, the spell power, the total spell power it does of healing is less than 2 uplifts still. But if you can cast it with the multi-strike buff from the 2-piece, it's going to do, on average, more healing than an uplift. But if the buff does include the healing orbs, then it's going to do more overall spell power healing than 2 uplifts will. So it's really dependent on whether or not those orbs are going to be counted, and if you get the 2-piece.
So even with the 40% buff to it, it doesn't catch up to uplift?
By itself, correct. If you don't include the orbs.
Wow.
So if the bonus doesn't apply to orbs, it's slight. It's like 100 and... Hold on, I got it somewhere. It's like 130% spell power less than 2 uplifts.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, but with the 40% multi-strike bonus, that's going to be
obviously, yeah,
huge.
that pushes it above it. Yeah,
right.
So it's almost like a, I don't know what.
So, but again, that is going to rely on the party that you're healing being stacked, because you need that splash healing.
Sort of, yeah. It's split evenly among all the targets that are hit. So, you know, if you have 2 targets hit, it's going to keep doing that healing.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right, yeah. You're going to get the most benefit, though, if you have a lot of
Yeah, obviously, people. You know, you want to heal more people. You don't want to just heal one person with it. You want to heal as many people possible with it. But yeah, so it's going to be a really good talent. It's going to be a very strong talent on a lot of fights. It's going to be hardly a fight where you can't find some use for it. It's not the best talent for every fight, but definitely a strong candidate for a lot of fights.
And that's what it's supposed to do. That's supposed to be...
I agree.
Yeah, so good design change there. Now, Chi Torpedo. Really, finally, Chi Torpedo is getting some love. Windwalkers, when was the last time you took Chi Torpedo?
Maybe once on the Siegecrafter belt, then I rolled off the platform and never again.
Okay, and once when you were drunk. So take the damage and increase it by 150%. Now how much would you buy?
So
the problem is the
more
movement.
damage.
Like on a fight like Tactus, where at the end you've got the tanks basically running for their lives and everyone's just trying to keep up, I can see Chi Torpedo being useful on that fight. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we're just kind of like standing still and pounding ankle. You have to move in order for it to cause any kind of damage.
Right. What about the jump roll?
Yeah. You can do that, but that's really goddamn annoying.
Oh, yeah, just like the Windwalker PvP you get used to it after a while.
Who's got two thumbs and ignored the two-piece?
You know, it's if you can do the jump roll and the area of damage around yourself is great enough, it might definitely be worth, especially on a stacked fight. I mean, if you're in a stacked fight like Butcher and you got your Hadouken, healing people, damaging stuff, then you got this healing people. Do we heal people with this or only damage people?
Yeah, and it's actually increased the healing by an extra 42% too.
I mean, that's huge for stacked, and so it's like to be the biggest benefit, you'd have to learn how to do that if it's viable,
Yeah, you put the Chi Torpedo or the further roll glyph on, and you put celerity on, and you can just zoom back and forth and just hit everybody in your raid, all the targets, AoE. What I can see this being extremely useful for is PvP.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to really try it out as a brewmaster as well, especially in fights where the other tank is obviously grabbing them. Because once the other tank grabs them, a zoom, and you're actually helping kind of keep your other tank alive. You're potentially increasing damage output if you're not running around doing other things. Increased damage and a little bit of health also would help on things like anytime you're picking up ads.
Yeah, if you didn't already have
going through
your dizzying haze if you didn't already have dizzying haze, this would be a great ad pick. And Dave, can't forget Dave. This would be a useful tool because you just roll through, do damage to everything, grab aggro, but you already have like 2 things you can do to get aggro, but still. Yeah,
but I think it'd be helpful in burning down ads and
right.
Fair.
I can think of like when you're the Twin Ogeron, when I have to take the Femus all the way out, and then I'm trying to get back, giving myself a decent heal on my way back.
And Chi Torpedo
goes very helpful.
Further than roll, so it allows you to get further out for the whirlwind. So that's nice.
So I can see a lot of situational stuff that I would take it in.
Right. Now let's talk about the redheaded stepchild of the Windwalker, tier 100, Hurricane Strike. They're increasing the damage by 25%, and I'm not sure if that's enough.
If you're talking about single target, no, not even close. If you're talking about you need some burst AoE and you need it fairly regularly, it's not bad now.
Yeah, I wanted to run something by you guys that I came across that I thought up of at work. Bracken Spore. If you're on flamethrower duty, you run out, get quite a few stacks of flamethrower, and you use Hurricane Strike to burst with that high damage buff. That might
the DPS you lose while you're running around?
Well, that's going to be the case. You're always going to lose DPS when you're doing the flamethrower. But monks are extremely mobile, have transcendence, and then you have a huge buff of damage. You hit Hurricane Strike here, and you can hit the boss, any like spore shooters, the ad, any mind fungus, and you'll probably one-shot all the small things. It's like having that heavy burst. So I'd be interested to try that out. Might actually have a use for Hurricane Strike in one fight.
Another fight I could see it being useful is Tectus again, when everyone's all grouped up.
Yeah, but it's like Chi Explosion
really, that's the only part you're using. Chi Explosion is very nice, and Chi Explosion has a benefit that is going to be nullified by another update that we're going to talk about later.
Right. Okay, Zen Sphere. Also,
you skipped one.
Oh, did I? Yes, Ring of Peace that no one cares about. Now incapacitates all enemies for 5 seconds. Oh, hey, now I care about it again. Up from 3 seconds.
Five is greater than 3.
Yes.
It's nice.
Always better.
And it helps you out in PvP because right now we could use a little bit of that.
Yes. But still not much use in PvE.
No.
Yet. So we'll see. Alright, Zen Sphere has been improved. Yay! Its detonation damage has increased by almost 100%. 97. Detonation healing has increased by 70%, but periodic healing has been reduced by 39%. Also fixed a bug that causes damage and healing to vary based on specialization. So, bigger boom, less periodic healing. Big boom damage, actually.
It's nice.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially
right
if it
now,
does one on a tank.
Yeah.
right now I run Zensphere. I've been running it on this whole expansion. I like it because I can put it on me, I can put it on the other tank, and then I can put it on me again. And the fact that it detonates when you're running low on health and your tank, it's wonderful. You kind of have that backup just in case someone misses a heal, or it's just one of those you take that really big hit and then you pop right back up. So this is just a bonus for me. It's something I already have a macro set up, so that way I can switch between me and my fellow tank, and I love
a good
it, honestly.
usage of it. That's really good for brewmasters. It's unfortunately without a macro setup, this is way too cumbersome to use and compared to something like Chi Wave.
You can tag it to a mouse over real quick.
Yeah, you can, but it still requires you to track the cooldown, know which one is up, know which one is, if you're not casting on yourself, you have to look for the ball. You have to. It's not hard. I'm not going to say it's hard, but it is more.
It's not hard.
It's more cumbersome than something like Chi Wave, and so for the vast majority of people, I would say it really has to have a stronger damage output in order to make it worth it, and I'm not sure if it does at this point.
I could see Mistweavers taking this though.
I take it on Butcher, so
yeah. So now it's even better.
Well, looking at it, it depends on how you use it. Like if you're using it for the hot portion, or let's look at it overall healing. Overall healing, like that, it's done. If you let the hot roll out and it detonates, it's actually a decrease in healing with this change. You lose about 10% of your spell power per cast with this change, but more of the damage or more of the healing is shoved into the detonate, which is arguably where you want it the most. That little hot is almost pointless, and now obviously it's even more relevant since they nerfed it so much. So while you do get more out of the detonate, overall you're actually healing for less now. Yeah. Still not terrible. I didn't compare it to Chi Wave and Chi Burst by the numbers yet. I was going to do that before this, but I forgot. But it should be somewhat competitive on certain fights. So we'll see. I want to get it on PTR and actually get to test it though. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to getting it on PTR in this case. So many changes coming out. All right, Brewmaster gets something. Elusive Brew is now highlighted when the monk has 15 stacks of it. So apparently people aren't paying attention to that.
Or they don't have weak auras.
Right. It's like I already have a weak aura set up for this. So okay.
So I don't know. It's just one of those funny things. It's like weak auras basically did it for me, so I never realized that it didn't light up. I assumed that it did because I saw something light up for me. So
it goes up to is it 20 or is it 15 is the max? I haven't played my Brewmaster in a while.
15 is the max.
Yeah, I was gonna say 15. I'm pretty sure 15 is the max because that's when it lights up for me. That's when I need it. So
yeah, I always kind of set it like my weak aura to a couple beforehand. So it's like 13. It starts yelling at me. It's
nice that they're doing this though. Adding because almost every class has some kind of little in-game notification. It lets you have less add-ons or less memory used by your add-ons, and they should have it for every class. Every spec has something they can use it on.
Yeah, it makes sense that they would have had it to start, but my computer runs pretty well with the add-ons I have, so it doesn't really affect me too much.
Okay, we're going to skip over this next part really quick and come back to this because we'll be spending some time on this one.
Yes.
Glyph of Blackout Kick has finally made its triumphant return.
Air, this is where we dance!
All right, everyone make a GIF of that. Okay, I got it full screen, so good job. Hold on. Let Duke do that again. There we go. All right, working.
There's Monk Celebration Dance.
Yep.
We are finally...
So what has Callie said about this? Is she finally, is she popped open the champagne and... Start dancing.
She hasn't popped it yet. It's not on live.
Right. It's not on live
it was
yet.
on beta, and then it disappeared, and we kept asking about it, and they said, we'll add it, and then it never happened. It is on the PTR, so it is there.
Yeah.
It just needs to go from the PTR to live, and that's when we calm down the pitchforks.
All right. Who put this note about the glyph? Because that is a really good point.
The Glyph is only really good if you're using Serenity or Hurricane Strike, because Chi Explosion always puts on the dot if you're using 2 or more Chi. It's fantastic for fights where, like on Tectus, you have no idea which way you're facing. On Butcher, where maybe sometimes you might have to be angled a little weird from him. You know, if you're at 89 degrees, you're not behind him. If you're at 91, you are.
Yeah, and Korag is absolutely one to use this on.
It's insane. So a lot of fights where you're going to be using Chi Explosion, the Glyph did not make a big deal. On fights where you're using Serenity or maybe you're using Hurricane Strikes, the Glyph is huge because it's going to be a minimum of, what, about 5% of your damage overall?
Yeah, the only downside to this Glyph, when it comes to Serenity in particular, is that you waste so much of the dots when you're in Serenity.
Yeah.
As you're just replacing that dot every second. So it's but that's the part
Does
of
it not ignite roll?
I don't think it rolls.
They
It
roll.
continues rolling, but it doesn't add on to it, right? So it's always going to have, I think, a 6-second or 8-second max.
Oh, that sucks.
So when you're doing Serenity, basically it ticks down to 5.5 seconds. You kick, it's back up to 8. So you get 1 tick off every single time you do Serenity.
Yeah, and that
but
ticks
it doesn't
me off,
matter
too.
because you're doing so much more damage just blackout kicking.
Right.
Yeah.
But at that point, it's like it's a moot point whether you have the Glyph or not. It adds a little extra damage, but not too much. Oh wait, Hina Lover has put me in my place. Apparently, it does roll. What is the
so,
max? Because it's not like Shuffle where it's just going to keep going to
It
infinity,
shouldn't
is
max out. It should be like Ignite, where it keeps adding to the damage. Now you're going to hit a point where the original dots would have ended, so it's not going to just keep going higher and higher and higher and higher. It's going to get to a point where
Right.
the first
so
3 ticks
each
that
dot
you did.
rolls separately, and
Well, it's combined together in damage, but that original dot, if you 6 kicks later, your first kick dot is going to have fallen off already, so that damage has already been done.
okay.
So you're not gonna see, million
You guys can
blackout
completely ignore
dots.
the last 2 minutes then. So never mind.
Right.
Okay. Well, good. Use the Glyph then. We learned something. All right. Armor sets changes. Basically, if you're a PvP monk and you've been really excited about having that 2-piece bonus, now you have to get 4-piece. And if you've been really excited about the 4-piece, you get it 2-piece. So they kind of flipped it. So now the 2-piece is...
No. They didn't flip the Windwalker monks. They removed the 2-piece currently, the jump roll one. They moved the 4-piece to the 2-point bonus, and they made a new 4-piece bonus.
That's not how this reads.
I know
Yeah,
it's not how it reads, but the 4-piece bonus they're talking about is not what used to be the 2-piece bonus.
Okay.
The 2-piece bonus used to be that if you did a roll, your jabs would cost
Right.
like 15 energy for 5 seconds.
And they just got rid of that
4.
because it's dumb.
Because
Well, no, because it was stupid overpowered that every single Windwalker raiding mythic was going out there PvPing just for some gear.
Yeah, it
So-
does read really strangely on this.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so 2-piece is Touch of Karma's redirected damage can now exceed 50% of the monk's maximum health. So excellent in PvP. Touch of Karma is OP there. So awesome.
finally good again.
PvP 4-piece set bonus is going to be you receive a 2% reduction to damage taken for each stack of Tiger Eye Brew consumed for 20 seconds. See, I had heard this one before, so I'm very confused. I thought this was for next season's PvP. I'm not sure.
No. It might have been a bonus that they put out for PvP or something that was talked about early in the beta, but for Windwalkers, the jump roll is gone. Brewmaster still has it, but it will not proc, and it's still at the 2-piece part, but it will not proc in PvE fights.
Okay.
So that part is still staying active, at least as far as we know.
All right. Well, let's talk about the big change now, Mana Tea. So currently, how Mana Tea works is you have a set mana pool, and you gain your Mana Tea stacks, and when you spend them, you'll get 6,400 mana back every tick. If you have Ascension, you get more back because it was a percentage base, 4% of your mana. What they're doing now is they're saying, hey, we heard you don't like Spirit, so we're going to force you to like Spirit. But only unbuffed Spirit. Because that trinket you spend a lot of time making and buffing up and using all your inscription stuff for, screw you. All right, so what it does now is 3 times your unbuffed Spirit will be what your Mana T regens. Now, when they first put this out, and I put out a segment at the end of the instance, now I sound like an idiot because 10 minutes later it changed. It used to be 4 times unbuffed Spirit. So when that was the case, I was dancing.
Reporting on World of Warcraft is just wild and woolly and changes from second to second. It's such a dynamic industry.
But 4 times unbuffed Spirit, I felt was a little unbalanced because at normal Highmaul gear, you were already exceeding the current thing. So in Mythic gear, Blackrock Foundry, that was at 770 something item level. You were getting something like, let's see, 23.9 you were getting almost 10,000 mana back per tick. Which
it was a stupid amount.
So
it was nice.
Yeah.
But broken.
We already determined a problem with this. Challenge modes, fresh 90s, PvP, Spirit is way low. They have a hard time being competitive in challenge modes because of the way Mana T works. You already have to stop healing, which is something you don't want to do in challenge modes just to get T back, or get mana back. But now you're going to get very little mana back. So this is a big issue, and especially now that we went back to 3 times unbuffed Spirit. It's going to be rough. What are your thoughts on this, Monkey?
At which point do you actually get more Spirit back than you do with the current Mana T?
I have rigged that out, but I'll let Monkey kind of go in his opinion now.
Well, so right. So the biggest problem is that it's great for raiding monks, but bad for everybody else who can't reach those met spirit points. On a personal note, I was doing challenge modes not that long ago, and I didn't feel like regen was my big problem. I felt like it was throughput on multiple people, but that's a different issue. You know, if they go with the 3 times spirit, it's definitely going to be an issue. That's too low. You're not going to have enough mana to do what you need to do in those challenge modes in 5-mans. But like you said, for raiding monks who have access to passive spirit trinkets, like for Highmaul, the Mark of Rapid Replication, and the 2 off of whatever the bosses in Blackrock are, those are huge spirit gains. So for raiding monks, it'll be great. You'll easily be able to break, even if they do 3 times, you'll get close. You probably won't do it unless you get like really, really good gear with all the spirit and all the pieces. But you'll get close with the double spirit trinkets and maybe exceed it depending on your level of gear. I don't think it'll be necessary if they do 3 times to actually reach that point. Just get as close as you can to it, to wherever you're feeling comfortable doing it. I was on the PTR doing normal mode testing, but I was trying to heal as if I were healing mythic, damage. Like I was doing as much as I could. And even with the 4 times spirit, I noticed that, with 1,000 spirit that I had in my character at the time, I noticed that I had enough mana to really do whatever I wanted. I couldn't really do a whole lot of Rushing Jade Wind, but I could use it when I needed it. So 4 times felt fine. But I know as soon as you get a passive spirit trinket, it's going to be very ridiculous. So I'm expecting it to end up somewhere between 3 and 4, maybe 3.5 times your spirit.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 3.3, like 3.4.
Yeah. I think that'd be a good spot to end up, because if they nerf it to 3 times the spirit, then you'd need something like 21 or 2100, or it's a little above 2100. I think like 2133 spirit.
I have done the math. So, without Ascension, and this is assuming Ascension, that 10% buff does count towards unbuffed spirit, which I think is a very safe assumption here. Without Ascension, you need 2133 spirit in order to match current output today. To get that, with best in slot gear, you're going to have heroic non-warforged gear from Blackrock Foundry. So that's going to be the level where you match. Beforehand, you're going to have to go with Ascension, which with Ascension that brings your cap down to 1939. And you can get that with normal Blackrock non-warforged gear, barely.
Would not recommend doing that.
Right. And
Ascension's still not good enough.
yeah, Ascension's bad, but if you're going to have to though at those lower item
If
levels.
you're early on the gear curve, you're going to need every single help you can now because
you still
our
want
spells
as much
cost a
spirit
lot.
as possible, but you're not getting like if you're low on spirit, Ascension is doing less for you. You know, you're still getting 10%, but you're getting 10% of a much lesser value. So
Right.
let's say you start off and you have 800 spirit, you only get an 80 spirit from that talent, and then you go all the way up to let's say 1500 spirit. Now you're getting 150 from that same talent. It's less powerful the farther down you go. Whereas Chibru is more powerful because you're still generating mana tea, which granted is less powerful at those levels, but you're generating chi as well as mana tea. It's going to be a much stronger talent now with these changes.
Right. But it's and this is assuming that you get the 710 ring, so you're upgrading to that because that has a huge buff to spirit on it.
Yeah.
And also assuming you get the best trinkets and best in slot gear for that level. So if you're like me and can't get a trinket to save your life, it's going to be rough when 6.1 hits. It's going to be really, really rough.
Well, so now there's a slight note to this. Like, as bad as this change is, even if they go with the 3, which I really hope they don't go with the 3, I hope they go with something a little bit higher and lower than 4. Even with this, with the buffs to the other talents, because we have to look at this as a big picture. We can't just look at it, the spirit as on its own. With this buff to the other talents, Breath of the Serpent, Chi Explosion, or Chi Torpedo, these are all going to be, and even Zen Sphere to a point, you're going to be spending more globals per fight on free healing than you are right now.
This is true.
Whether or not you're being forced to do that because of the spirit change, that's a good argument. Maybe you could say that, well, okay, I want to use these because I can't afford these other ones. Well, that's fine, but they buffed these to keep up. Chi Torpedo is already a good talent. Now it's even better. It's going to be very competitive with Rushing Jade Winds. Wind's always been a good talent when he can cleave. Breath of the Serpent's really good now. Chi Explosion's going to be amazing, and although it's not a cheaper alternative, with Chibru you can put out some really good cheap bursts with it.
Right.
So I think you're going to find that even if they go with 3 or a little bit above 3, you're not going to have too many problems with mana regen.
That is
a scenario.
That is an excellent point. That if you have the mana, if you're a Mythic Raider, Rushing Jade Wind, it does insane healing, but it costs a lot of mana. But if you're at Mythic Warforged gear, you're at 2390 spirit, so you're getting an extra 1k back every tick of mana tea. So you can afford to do that. But the Chi Torpedo with that buff is a really good alternative because it is free and you get AoE healing for free. So that is an excellent point. Thank you.
Plus, you have to keep in mind, if we're stacking spirit just to return to current live mana tea values, we're also stacking that spirit, which is getting us more regen from just spirit alone. So you're going to be regenning way more than you are now, even with the mana tea nerf, if you stack the spirit, which is kind of like a weird way of thinking about it. But
yeah, it's crazy because right now we value spirit, but it's like if it's not on there, we're not crying about it.
Right. I want to know like the design intent for this change. Instead of just removing mana tea or nerfing it entirely, they're doing this weird change to it that is completely backwards to their original design where for healers, which was, we don't want you to suffer in low gear, but we don't want you to be overpowered in high gear. And that's exactly the kind of thing they're going with right here. It's like, this is so wrong.
And the thing I brought up today is that this is only a one-tier solution because your mana pool is static. So if you're doing it as based on your spirit levels are only going to go higher and higher and higher, which means it's just going to get more insane as we go on. Whereas with a percentage base, it's always the same. So I have no idea why they did this, unless they're planning in tier 18 or tier 19 to just say, "All right, goodbye mana tea."
That would be a really good change. I really hope they do that at some point very soon. But I just don't understand why they would do this.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
Not
only does mana. Go ahead.
The only thing I can think of that the reason they would want to do this is only because they wanted us to value spirit, and we said, okay, spirit's nice, and they wanted us to say, please God, give me spirit. And so now they're saying, okay, well, since you didn't take spirit, we're going to slap you on the hand and make you take spirit. That's the only thing I can think of is they're trying to shoehorn healers into the spirit role, just like they did tanks with bonus armor. and they're trying to shoehorn us in. Whereas before, Mistweavers were again the only class who were like, meh, Spirit, no, I'll take it if it's there.
The problem is they have such a... I want to know where they got their data from. What makes them think Mistweavers specifically didn't want Spirit? Because we did, as you said before, you know, we do want Spirit, we still do. But if they're only looking at fights in Highmaul, it's only 6 bosses, and they're so different. You can't really get a good gauge of how healers are doing on mana. And especially if you look at Margok, it's kind of like, it's a really good fight. It's a well-designed fight. It's got all different kinds of healing you have to do, and it's constantly pressuring your healers to, you know, push themselves and be more efficient. But it's got this whole phase 1 where there's like almost no damage, and it gives Mistweavers a perfect opportunity to just bank, you know, 180% of their mana going into the real parts of the fight.
Yeah.
And if they use that as an example, like, it's terrible data, and it's not anything like what we're going to see in Blackrock.
That is like the biggest key point, is the fact that it's Crane Stance that is breaking our mana regen.
Right.
Because of the fact that most of these fights we can stack up to 20 stacks of Mana Tea and don't care about Spirit, because that Spirit, again, is nice to have, especially in the Mythic level where you're not spending as much time in Crane, but you're still able to get a lot of Crane usage to get your T stacks up, meaning Spirit is less valued.
Right.
And so that hasn't been addressed whatsoever thus far. So that's I would love to see either a removal of Mana Tea or the removal of Crane Stance giving you Mana Tea stacks and just making it a mana positive stance.
Well, I don't think even Crane needs to be mana positive. It just needs to not be so... It's just below neutral would be good. Because other healers, some of them are neutral, some of them are slightly below neutral, but generally they're not positive, unless it's completely free, like Resto Druid with Gema Cenarius, but that's a talent. You know, baseline damage levels, or baseline damage abilities for healers are mostly neutral or right below neutral in the negative side. And it doesn't, like you said, there's been plenty of great solutions. Remove Teeth just from Crane. There's so many good solutions, and they go with this, and I don't know why they went with this.
So we shall see. It's going to be an interesting ride, so buckle up. All right, well, it's time to impart some tips and tricks for those raiding monks in
Fist of Fury. It's go time.
All right, today on the chopping block, Imperator Margok, final boss of the Highmaul. Did I say it wrong again?
Imperator.
Imperator. I'll get it right one of these times. All right, Impregnator Margok. Let's go.
There you go. Good job.
Okay. All right, let's go to the Windwalkers. How do we handle this 18,000 year fight? Actually, I think this is going to be the first time when our explanation of the fight is shorter than the boss fight.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We can try for that.
Right. Go air, go.
Well, you know, this a lot of single target, but when you get to the ads, you know, at the transition phases, Stormworth and Fire is really nice. And what I like to do is I'll put my little clone guy on the War Mage that everyone else is focusing on, and I'm going to go over to the other guy, because that's where we send the melee who get fixated, and I can just sit there, and it's a good time to just sit there and do 100 and something % damage for a while. Same thing with the next transition. War Mage, big guy, you sit in the one that dies last, or if you're leaving a War Mage up, you sit in the War Mage, you send a clone out to the Reaver. It's a really nice way to get the most amount of damage out. And make sure you're saving your kind of big cooldowns for that. If you're running Serenity, save Serenity for that. If you've got a Lucky Flip going, it's a great time for that. Have your Tiger's Eye Brew ready. Just be ready to burn them down. So, that's the SEF tip. What do you got there, Duke?
Well, this guy has a lot of intermission phases where basically he'll run off and ask some people to come in and help out. During each one of those... Shit, where the hell was I? I just left myself on the page. I'm sorry. Apparently when I go off script, it's awful. Okay.
Transcendence.
That's it. Transcendence. Okay. So when he dives off into wherever he goes, he has 3 different points where he stands during those phases. Set your Transcendence as soon as you walk in the door to that first spot. Hit the button. Pop over, do a little bit extra damage. if you're in Chi Explosion, and you should be because it's wonderful when the ads come up, you want to just hit Expel, Harm, hit Chi Explosion while he's floating up in the air, and wait for him to come back down. The next time you're going to hit Transcendence is when he goes off to Phase 2. Where do you want Transcendence to be? As close to the center as possible because it'll get you to the ads faster. You want to do the same thing on Phase 3. The main thing, like Air said, is we're going to use Storm, Earth, and Fire. So you want to be as close to whatever War Mage your group has decided is going to stay up the longest. The other thing, if you need to move around a lot, and dear God, it feels like you're running around like crazy, is Tiger's Lust. Because you're just moving around from face to face. God forbid you have a group where every time the tank gets the little explodey debuff, you have to run away from him. If it's a warrior, they should just leap the hell out of there. You are doing a lot of running around, and there's going to be a lot of ads that are coming up, and there's a lot of things that you need to watch out for. Tiger's Lust is great for moving around, and it's even better for casting on somebody else who needs to move out of stuff, like standing in a mine and doesn't realize it yet. What else do we have, Air?
Well, I mean, what you got these knockbacks, Force Novas. Great time to use Roll. Great time to use Tiger's Lust. You're also going to want to look at maybe pop down Transcendence, because if you're not using it for the other stuff, it works well for just avoiding rollback, Transcendence through, really take no damage. And I'm a big fan of Zen Meditation for staying alive, especially when you're fixated by the Reavers. It gives your healers a bit of time to not worry about you, because that's about a 50k tick per second. That's a great way to just make sure that's handy. If you want to glyph it as well, I think you could probably use that to roll through some of the Force Nova stuff, I imagine. I haven't tried that, but be a good one to use as well. And the only glyph I really changed for this one is it's a diffuse magic glyph. A lot of magic damage. You know, the big hits are big, but I think you get more out of it by constant 90% reduced damage taken.
Especially anytime a Force Nova comes up.
Yeah. So
that's really the biggest thing that's going to kill melee, especially Phase 4 Force Nova, where when it hits you, you explode and everyone around you is exploding. And you always have that one guy who's like, I was supposed to move?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that.
Luckily, that is one of the biggest survivable skills of the Windwalker class, knowing the other morons in your raid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing who to stay on the other side of Imperator.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk.
This guy's next to me? No.
And Rolling Thunder, I didn't call any of you morons. No. Don't kill me. Oh, you killed me. All right.
You're dead.
I'm dead. All right.
I'm the only melee.
Oh, yeah, you are.
So if the melee in Rolling Thunder explodes...
I know who it is. Okay. Let's talk about Mistweaver on this. So... the tip I love to use on this is is Transcendence. You can avoid all damage of Force Nova altogether, in all except for that triple Nova phase, by using Transcendence. When you know it's coming up, you drop your clone right on the boss. You roll or Chi Torpedo back right as he's casting it, and then as soon as he pops it, you hit Pop Transcendence. You just completely avoid the mechanic whatsoever. So one counter to this as a healer is you have to pay attention and know the people in your raid if they're going to be taking a lot of damage. I like going Chi Torpedo on this fight because instead of doing the Transcendence and kind of avoiding all the damage, what I do is I back up as it's about to hit, and I aim myself that I'm going to hit the melee when they get pushed back, and I Chi Torpedo through the Force Nova, hitting all the melee. And then if the range are taking damage, the range should be all nice and stacked up in a nice little point, and you can Chi Torpedo roll, hit them, and roll back and hit them again. And so that's a nice little way to kind of heal up for free a good chunk of your raid. So that's one tip I like to use. Monkey-O, got anything? You are muted, sir.
All the things.
Yeah, I think Chief Torpedo is a fine option if you find yourself struggling on mana. All those talents in that row are really good for this fight. Like Zwen's really good. Rushing Jade Wind, if you can manage the mana, is really good. Like all those talents are great. Chief Torpedo, like you said, I use it like you do. I use roll like you do. I don't Transcendence hardly ever in that fight, even though I should. I prefer to just roll straight through the Force Novas.
Yeah, I do
It's
Transcendence
more fun.
mainly
And
on
I trust it
Windwalker.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I trust myself to roll through it more than I trust myself to place the Transcendence every time and in a good position that
Right.
I won't go back into
Yeah,
a
but
mine or
roll is
something.
always a backup in case you screw up. So.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. But yeah, for that fight, really, nothing really monk specific, I guess, because it's just a heal through everything fight. But at the end of the fight, you want to make sure for that last phase, you want to make sure you have enough mana to really bomb the Infinite Darkness debuffs that Margok or Cho'Gall, I guess in this case, puts up on people. Monks are super good at healing that debuff up and putting a big shield in the raid. So you want to make sure like you have enough mana to fulfill that role because that's a really important part of the fight.
And
By
luckily,
rolling, enveloping mist and stuff.
luckily, Phase 1 makes it so we will guarantee we have mana.
Definitely. Yeah, but you can definitely spend it all in like phases 2 and 3 if
That's
you try
true.
hard.
Yeah, Phase 1, though, is really nice because you can just sit there and crane stance to your heart's content.
Yeah, definitely.
There's hardly any damage going out, and that damage can usually be healed by the other healers just fine. So you just sit there and just smack away, build up your stacks, and you can pump it out in the other phases just fine. So yeah, other than that, monk specific on that fight, when do you think is a good time to use Life Cocoon?
Me, so the way I use Life Cocoon is I try and save it for when the tanks call for it, because our tanks are usually pretty good about calling for cooldowns, but they never call for Life Cocoon. I give them shit about it all the time. But we usually have so many cooldowns to use that Life
Right.
Cocoon's kind of, last in that priority. But I use it now, since they haven't been calling for it all that much, I use it when I just see them low, because it just works as a big power word shield. So
Right.
if you see them low, just throw it on it and, use it often.
So there's no
use it
really
as much as you can.
preemptive usage on those fight for it?
So, well, the big parts are when the ads are tanking, or the tanks are tanking, like the Reavers, or
Yeah.
that's like the most dangerous part for the tanks is the Reavers. Or if one of the tanks doesn't taunt in time to reset the stacks on the boss, things like that. You can use it at those times, kind of whenever you feel they're going to take big hits, and they don't have to call for a cooldown.
Is there a good usage of revival in this fight?
I use it. You ideally, and I guess this is not really ideal. You'd use it right before or right after somebody jumps into a mine. So if you want to call that ideal or not, I don't know. But that's
Yeah, it erases
it can
one
save
mistake
you. I mean, it
there.
can save your raid. Yeah, it could definitely save your raid if you do it right. At times where we've set it up just to say, all right, you're revivaling when this ad's about to die. It's like, okay, I'll revival just as the ad's about to die. The ad dies, knocks people back into a mine, and we healed up as soon as it died. I revivaled, and they hit the mine right after that. So we would have wiped if I hadn't revivaled.
Right.
But mostly for that fight, the intermissions are a decent time to use it, depending on your strat with the little ads, that explode.
Yeah,
If
that's
people
usually
blow
when
up
I
too
use
many
it.
ads instantly, it can definitely hurt a lot. So that's a decent time for it. Anytime during any of the phases where the melee take huge Force Nova hits, or I think it's just a
Yeah.
good cooldown for that fight because people are constantly moving, being pushed back by the Nova. It's a really good healer cooldown for that.
Yeah, it's a...
Oh,
go ahead.
ahead.
No, you.
I would say in the last phase, even though Revival does that dispel mechanic, it will not dispel the Infinite Darkness debuff. So you can feel
sadly.
free to use it to heal a bunch up at time, or just heal the raid,
Okay.
and you'll still have the debuffs to dispel.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember when I was when we were doing heroic on this, and someone stepped into a mine, and I remember saying in Mumble, I'm like, okay, one mistake, now erased.
Every 3 minutes.
Revival.
We can clear one mine every 3 minutes.
Right.
It's just every monk that we have. New strat.
All right. So when we do the all monk raid, it's like we can just step in mines all we want. That's cool.
Just clear the board.
Right. Just clear the board. Don't care. All right. Useful talents here. Diffuse magic, just like the Windwalker said. This one is super useful. If you're targeted by fixate, it's good. For ads during the second or third intermission, it's good. Getting through novas or those orbs in phase 4 that the tanks spit out, good for that. It's just no other reason to take any other talent on that row. Pool of Mists. Chi Explosion is very useful in early phases because you're doing a lot of crane stancing, but the craziness of Phase 4 is the biggest test of this fight. So you have to go Pool of Mist. There's no other choice in this. But as Monkio said, Chi Torpedo, Zhuan, Rushing Jade Wind, all of them pretty darn useful. Pick whichever one you want at that point. So, all right, let's go to Guanshu. Brewmaster time.
Okay, so I'd like to set the disclaimer that I am going off what LeBlue has told me and what he's written down.
So if you disagree with this, take it up.
If you disagree with it, take it to LeBlue. That being said, I try as I might to channel LeBlue. I can only really channel his evil twin, Lared, who, like LeBlue, who has the grumpy cat as his spirit animal, Lared has the soft kitty spirit animal.
Soft kitty with the lowest voice ever.
Yes.
Yes. So I will do my best to kind of go through this stuff. So basically, clever use of monk mechanics, like a lot of people are saying, and actually a lot of the fights I feel, is transcendence. It can be used to get out with the fortified mark that roots you. You can also use this to get yourself away from the ranged group on displacement, as well as, it's weird, as well so you don't accidentally run yourself into a mine trying to run the Mark of Chaos away.
That is like the meanest mechanic in existence. That every time you learn this fight, you have that one tank who's just like, wait, I got teleported. Where am I? Why is everyone near me? What's going on? Boom. And so, yeah, that's like, it is so mean. Okay, anyways, back to you, sir. Sorry.
A key thing to remember is Heroic Garrosh and how monks kite it adds to infinity and beyond.
They will never forget.
While more viable in Mythic and normal and Heroic, you can have a monk kite around adds from the intermission and spawn from the replication aberrations that Margok spawns. This will greatly reduce incoming tank damage and healing requirements, while also allowing you to have raid cooldowns as raid saves rather than using them to pop most of the intermission ads at the same time. As a backup, I went over to Sunier's Art of War, which is where I use anytime I have any questions about brewmastering, because she pretty much knows everything about it.
It's a good resource.
Yeah, it's a great
I believe
resource.
we called it Brewmaster Mart.
Yes. Yeah, Brewmaster. See, that makes it seem cheap, honestly. It's more like Brewmaster
Boutique.
No, it's an emporium.
Brewmaster
Really.
Emporium, okay.
And you know, I checked the blue stuff, and that pretty much matches Sunnier, so I'll go with it. Useful talents and glyphs, healing elixirs, which I use anyways on pretty much every fight at this point.
You guys are popping so much brew, it triggers on cooldown, so
yeah,
it's not bad.
It's nice. It pops on cooldown. So Zuen for normal, heroic, and Rushing Jade Wind is an option for Mythic. Soul Dance isn't bad for the ads on Mythic. Otherwise, your choice would be Serenity or Chi Explosion. And that's what LeBlue says. What I say is Chi Explosion. Chi Explosion. He does add that Serenity has a distinct advantage of allowing you to use Breath of Fire to do a lot of damage on ads during the intermission if you tank them and allow them to stack up. But Chi Explosion does AoE damage too, so I will go with that one instead.
Okay.
Remember, it's Kagrai_LeBlue. If you have any complaints at all about anything I just said.
Okay. All right, students, now it's time to meditate and expand our knowledge in
Transcendence.
Blackrock Foundry. Blackrock Foundry. Okay. Blackrock Foundry is right around the corner, coming out February 3rd, so we're all going to get in there, and our first tier is in there. Tier 17, Somber Gaze. So, a couple of changes from previous tiers. Tier pieces can now be Warforged, have a socket, and or tertiary stats. This is huge. Before, they could never be Warforged, and so it was always an interesting comparison on whether the 2-piece, 4-piece, whatever, would outweigh Warforged. In this case, it can be Warforged, so that goes out the window. Tier pieces are only available in normal or higher. Normal and heroic have same models, but different colors. Mythic has all different art. This is also a change.
Just the shoulders and the helmet is different for Mythic.
Is that the same for every class, or is it just
I
us?
think that's correct.
Okay. So the shoulders are really badass and mythic this time.
Oh, yeah.
Like paws come out of your shoulders. It's really cool. LFR tier, there is a tier added, but it has very generic bonuses. Windwalkers will get 100 agility for the 2-piece. 4-piece chance to increase energy regen by 100% for 6 seconds. That's kind of nice, actually. Mistweaver will get a 2-piece bonus, 100 intellect. 10% chance to drop a chi sphere at your target's location, which will burst into AoE healing instead of the regular healing sphere. Brewmaster 2-piece will be 125 bonus armor. 4-piece will be a chance to increase dodge by 10% for 6 seconds. So this is kind of new information. I didn't know this. Going into... Was this just announced that there were going to be tiers?
This was a while ago.
Oh, okay.
It was a blue post release a while ago and more recently iterated upon, I think, this last week.
Okay. All right. So that you LFR heroes have something to look forward to at least. So that's cool.
Yes! I like bonus armor.
So at least in the Uri stage, it's for some normal and heroic teams, you might want to go 2-piece and 2-piece for the different spots.
Yeah, but I wonder if the stats that you're missing out isn't really worth, I think, the 2-piece.
Yeah.
So that 125 bonus armor, which is pretty good, won't make up for the fact that you're missing out on multi-strike or crit or even stamina,
up,
really.
You'll have the ability to use these two, which is nice. You can have 2-piece sets, which is cool. So let's go over
I'll probably be
Windwalker.
rocking it until next expansion. Who knows?
Yeah. So let's talk Windwalker. All right. Whichever one of you guys wants to start up.
Well, I'll go.
All right.
So for Windwalker, you want to get your 4-piece as quickly as possible. The 3 pieces you want to get 100% are the helm, shoulders, and legs. If you're using Chi Explosion, you want to use the gloves because they have haste, and if you want to use Serenity, the chest has crit. The 2-piece is freaking awesome. Fist of Fury generates 1 stack of Tiger Eye Brew, and it is affected by Mastery, so you can proc multiple stacks. The 4-piece, while Tiger Eye Brew's damage effect is active, your multi-strike damage is increased by 3% per stack of Tiger Eye Brew consumed.
I heard you like Multistrike.
So we're going to add some multi-strike on top of your Tiger's Eye multi-strike with their multi-strike proc.
Right.
So it's I mean, after what, there were 3 pieces that had multi-strike in Highmaul. 2 of them were weapons, and 1 of them had mastery.
Right.
Now we're walking into Blackrock Foundry, and they're like, "Hey, welcome to multi-strike heaven."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm super glad that a lot of our tier actually has multi-strike on it. I don't know if the Brewmasters are so enthralled with that, but the Mistweavers and the Windwalkers are like, "Yeah, multi-strike." And I think
it's only just desserts because there was all this crit mastery gear coming at us in
I think
Highmaul.
one of our tier pieces has mastery in it, unfortunately, but what you gonna do?
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, I really feel like what they really did was they made sure that the tanks got the stats they needed in Highmaul, and then they went into like multi-strike in Blackrock just so you guys
So the
could get your
Windwalkers would
pieces.
shut up.
Well, not to say you shut up, but strategically, so that we have the survivability going into Blackrock,
Right.
and you guys will just do more damage,
Right.
and be better geared. Because to me, it kind of makes sense. You make sure your tanks can stay alive with those stats, and then you switch it over for everyone else.
Okay. So with the 4-piece, this 4-piece is crazy good. You're going to be having... Generally, a lot of people will save up for 10 stacks, and so you're going to be rolling an extra 30% multi-strike a lot. a lot. And so...
according to Hina Lover, it's multiplicative, so it's more like 39% multi-strike.
Oh, jeez. Oh, is that because of the buff we get to multi-strike? Because it says from all sources, so the extra 30% gets an extra 5%, which ends... Okay, jeez.
Great.
Yeah, so it's like everything you do...
Like we said earlier, I heard you like Multistrike.
Yeah. And so make sure you get a Fist of Fury in where your Tiger Eye Brew in, because then you get more Tiger Eye Brew to get more my brain just broke.
It hopefully, there's been talks about us not scaling necessarily well as some other classes, and I think, if you listened to Monkcraft yesterday, they talked, Callie, Hina, and Golvin talked about the fact that the Multistrike is pretty strong, and there's a big difference in the amount of damage you're doing at the beginning of the tier when all of our old stuff had Multistrike versus now. And if we're getting all this Multistrike, our gear is going to have more Multistrike. That might really, kick up our damage a bit, even though it's still lower than agility. It might be that bit that kind of really keeps us from being at that lower part, and at least, solidly mediocre is what we're going for right now, I think, right?
And we have a couple of really
We're going for not getting benched.
Right. And we have a couple of really strong trinkets in this tier, too. That it has if I recall correctly, there's an agility multi-strike with the multi-strike proc trinket in there. And so you roll that, get your Tiger Eye Brew going, and just good night multi-strike. It's you're just going to see numbers popping out. You're going to want to, in that Tiger Eye Brew, you're going to want to turn off your scrolling combat text so you can see what's happening.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go on to Mistweaver here. So I put together a best in slot list, and I'm pretty sure you've done so as well, Monkio. The pieces that I'm going for are the helm, shoulders, gloves, and legs. That's what you got? Okay. So your 2-piece, every time your Soothing Mist heals a target, your multi-strike chance is increased by 5%. We talked about this a little bit earlier. There is a benefit as well to Crane Stance. Every time you consume a 5 stack of Vital Mist, you're going to generate an extra chi. So I imagine this will combo in with Power Strike, so you could technically get 3 chi for doing a Surging Mist.
Right, yeah. It's really, the 2-piece is extremely strong because it affects Serpent and Crane pretty well, both of them. And it's actually really noticeable, the extra 1 chi you get from Vital Mist when you're using Chi Explosion. It smooths the rotation out so much. It was even better when it was 2 extra chi or whatever it was in beta, when you got even more. But this is still really, really nice. And you'll notice, Chi Explosion right now feels really slow. It's like, oh my god, I gotta go all the way back to 4. It's like climbing up a mountain, every other ability. And but with this bonus, it's really like, oh, this is nice. This makes sense.
Right. You just get, I'm back up to 2. I can, I'm good to go. All right. Yeah, so I wrote in here, hey, I already used this line. Yo, I heard you like Multistrike, because holy crap. From what I understand, and I could be wrong, but from what I understand, this resets upon casting a new stream, or you cancel your existing stream. So it's only during that existing stream of Soothing Mist that you get this stacking bonus.
That's right, yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to correct my math from before. You don't get your first tick until 1 second in, and it's an 8-second thing, so you get 7 ticks plus possible extra depending on haste levels. So you could have an extra 30 to 35% multi-strike when you pop your last final thing, either a Surging Mist or a Chi Explosion. So yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. And it's, again, you're going to want to turn off your scrolling combat text, because if you do a Chi Explosion with 35% extra multi-strike at 4 Chi, it's going to hit, explode, and your entire screen is going to light up like a fireball of green. So,
well, it might not. What happens with the Chi Explosion is that the big hit, right, and then when it hits everyone else, that can multi-strike, but none of the little ticks, the dot ticks, or whatever you want to call the hot ticks, can multi-strike or crit. They all are just based on the healing that you've done. So you'll see that one big boom, but then it'll kind of stop, Yeah,
the healing spheres, though, can multi-strike.
Yeah, those can definitely crit.
So it's like, you'll just be seeing little pops here and there.
It's going to be insane.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun
to watch.
Yeah. 4-piece, and this is actually a 4-piece that I'm going for once. Most of the 4 pieces are usually pretty crap, but Surging Mist multi-strikes will cause your next Thunder Focus T to generate 1 chi. Stacks up to 2 times. So I think the design intent behind this is, guys, you're not using Thunder Focus T enough. We put this here for you. Use it. So now it's like, oh, I'm going to make a nice little weak aura. Put it right here. It says use your Thunder Focus T. Okay. All right. Done. So be using this on cooldown now.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was fine before. I used it as much as I could before, and obviously it has synergy with the two-piece where you're channeling Soothing, you're casting Surgings, and they have increased multi-strike chance. But the big thing is that it gives you two chi when you use it, and you want to make sure that you're not above 2 chi when you use it, because you don't want to waste chi like that.
Right.
It's kind of puts you in a weird situation. Now it's much better than it was in beta. On beta, it gave you up to 5 chi. You could stack it up to 5 times, and it was really weird because you would cast it, Thunder Focus, and your next move is like almost always a chi generator. Like you want to cast Renewing or Surging, but if you cast it, it caps you out on chi, and now you got to waste chi using Renewing or Surging. It didn't make any sense. So it's actually better that they brought it down to 2 chi because it makes more sense.
Right. This is going to have a lot of synergy with Crane Stance and the 2-piece and Chi Explosion, because you'll hit your Chi Explosion, go down to 0, hit your Thunder Focus T to get your Surging Mist, so all of a sudden, bam, 4 second Chi Explosion.
Right.
So
and it works really well on Serpent as well, where you have you pop it, you pop Thunder Focus, and it gives you 2 chi. You're Renewing Mist twice, so however many charges you have, and all of a sudden you got 4 chi for 2 uplifts, and your Renewing Mists are being spread. So it's a pretty nice little setup they got going there.
Yeah, so your recommendation then is to go for your 4-piece as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and not just because of the set bonus, but because the tier pieces themselves are better than the available off pieces.
Right, yeah, the only difference is the chess piece. The chess piece you want to avoid because there is a better best in stock piece.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I was looking at the only one that's even controversial is the gloves, like the
yeah, those have mastery,
you want
right?
the off, right? Yeah, it's obviously you want the chest piece for the off piece. The tier legs are better than they're crit multi-strike. They're really good. The shoulders and helmet, the off pieces for those pieces are worse than the tier pieces. The only one that's up for competition is the gloves, and that's like, well, you either get some multi-strike or you get the 4-piece and some crit. So I'd go with the 4-piece and the crit.
Right. Yeah, as you're going to have 3 pieces regardless, and so you might as well go for that 4th. So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and Brewmasters.
So you're looking at with our 2-piece, when we dodge an attack, we generate 2 energy, and with our 4-piece, Purifying Brew generates 1 stack of Elusive Brew, but only on heavy stagger. So I like the 2-piece. The 4-piece I'm not a big fan of because using Chi Explosion, I actually am clearing out my stagger damage at low intervals anyway, so it won't really work as well. So really what you're looking for is you're looking to grab your 2-piece. With the 2 separate builds that are out there, you both of them you want your gloves. So if you're looking for crit or mastery, go for gloves, because it has both crit and mastery. Kind of easiest piece to grab. For me, as I do kind of go more towards mastery, shoulders are my choice to complete my 2nd piece. So with that, you do get some multi-strike with it. Imagine that. So, but you get the mastery with the multi-strike, and the multi-strike really it helps kind of build up your elusive brew for stacking, just because you're getting the extra attacks out there, so you have more chances to crit out there. Then, if you are going kind of more the crit route, your best option would be legs, opposed to, I believe it's the chest that also gives crit, but the legs give crit with multi-strike, and which is better than getting crit with haste on the chest. So you're really looking at either your gloves and shoulders or gloves and legs, depending on how you want to play your Brewmaster.
Okay, correction in the dojo. The 4-piece now will work with moderate or heavy in the latest PTR build.
Slightly better.
Yeah, slightly better.
Not awesome.
Yeah,
something you should rush out and get as quickly as possible, but not as useless as it was with just heavy.
I mean, here's the big thing for me, though, right? Is now you put it at moderate. You're going to get a couple more stacks of Elusive Brew. Problem is, now as building towards mastery, kind of, for my primary stat over crit, I don't have another piece that gives me mastery. I can get haste multi-strike, I can get crit multi-strike, or I can get crit haste. So you're basically looking at, you're pulling up a piece that has haste, and I still kind of stay away from haste. So I would like to see the numbers where you're actually putting in like best in slots that are non-tier pieces to see if just getting more mastery is going to help you anyways, you know. So I still wouldn't be going for the 4-piece at all from just kind of looking it over and kind of understanding it more or less. That being said, if I have the chance to get it, I'm going to test it out and see if it works better.
All right, well, now it's time to travel to the Peak of Serenity, the home for all monks in
Zen Pilgrimage.
Monks, assemble!
All right, we have some questions from the community. At Buttersnips1 asks, do you know if the orc racial increased pet damage applies to SEF? You're a horde. Get out. Oh, wait, no.
No,
Whoa, rude.
hey, I think I have some backup today.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Our horde population has doubled currently. But the answer... So I got asked this question on Twitter. And as soon as the guy asked it, I had no idea. It was like, well, that's interesting. I mean, granted, it's 1% now, right?
Right, but...
So I asked the people on the Peak of Serenity IRC and got an answer right away. Storm, Earth, and Fire summons a Guardian, which can act like a pet, but is not considered a pet for anything.
Yeah.
So, no, it's not affected by the Orc racial command. Sorry.
So you can race change back to Draenei now. Okay.
Yeah.
Or dwarf, or night elf, or gnome, or
Tauren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still a
You gotta
soft
move
spot
like
in my
Tauren.
heart for moons.
Yeah. All right. So as we've been doing the last few episodes, we happen to know a few monks. So if you're looking for some for your raid team, reach out to us at show@monkmeditation.com or hit us up on Twitter at wowmonk or at monk_meditation. We'll be happy to put out your recruitment notice. Speaking of which, Matador, Horde. What is with the Horde today? Madoran US. They're looking for Mistweaver. They raid Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday, 8:30 to 11:30 p.m. Central Time, and they are looking for Mythic progression. So if you're a Mythic Mistweaver, get in there and find yourself a home. Exiled from Hell, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday team from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time. So it's a daytime team. They are looking for a Windwalker for Mythic progression. They are Horde side on the Rune Totem server. All right, there better be an Alliance one here soon. Oh, look at this. Bear Retirement Home. Sunyears group. So if you want to raid with Sunyears, Sanch, and other cool people who aren't monks, Sargeras US Alliance. We know some from Sargeras right here. All right. Alliance side is looking for a Windwalker and or Mistweaver for Mythic progression. They are currently 3 of 7 Mythic, and they raid Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Mondays from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central Time.
that's very cool.
All right. So, the dojo, there was a question in there. I'm not sure if there were any others. It's going by quite quickly. Dojo's lively today. But Quintuple asks, most fun fight of Highmaul? What's our votes, guys?
You know,
Margot.
yeah.
What?
I
No.
was actually going to say that too.
I think it's
Man,
a very
it's-
well-designed boss. I mean, as a healer, at least, you test it on your single target. Not just tank healing, but your single target healing in the last phase, your tank healing during the Reaver phase, your AoE healing during phase 2 and 3.
And Crane stance via phase 1.
Crane stance, for a monk, Crane stance via phase 1. You have to plan out your cooldowns. It's move. There's movement. There's standstill. There's stack. There's spread. You can even interrupt. I do interrupts as a healer. It's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy that fight. It's always something different to do, and for such a long fight, you're always doing something different. It's not like Shaw of Fear, or I think it's Shaw of Fear, where it was like 20-minute long fight where you have 2 phases. One on the main platform, one off. It's a much
you
better
fall
fight.
asleep halfway through
Yeah.
Shaw.
Yeah.
No,
Imperator's
during
really fun.
Margok, even as DPS, whether you're melee or ranged, there is something you're supposed to watch out for, and each phase is completely independent from each other. You are learning 4 different fights, and you have to execute those 4 different fights properly.
Yep.
And it
That's just hard.
feels great. Yeah, it's hard, but it's the right kind of hard.
So yeah, for me, it's got to be Twin Ogron. Just the hecticness of that fight, and the fact that when you're running as Windwalker, you just press one button and you instant top the meters. Always a good feeling. Dancing in the Quake that's a lot of fun. So that's my most fun.
For me, there's a specific reason that Butcher is my favorite one. And it basically so that's the one that I first tried out Chi Explosion on, and which then legitimately made LeBlue agree with me in the long run. So the fact that it made me change the way I played, and it worked out well, and now LeBlue agrees with me, that you don't get a better feeling than that at all.
All right, what about you, Air?
This is hard. I don't like choosing favorites. I like this harmonious idea of everything living together.
Okay, how about least favorite?
But
you don't like
Korag, that's the easy one. Korag's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But no, I do like Butcher a lot because I like the race. I like the fact that it's sit there, do everything you can to keep uptime on the boss. You have to manage your cooldowns to not die. I think it's a really fun fight. And Twins is kind of like the pedestal you put a monk on. It's like, this is how it should be done. And
right.
It looks even better when you don't catch fire.
Yes.
So.
If you could walk out of Twins with no blaze stacks,
that felt so good, man. That felt so good.
Ready for raiding.
Yes.
Raynor style.
It should really be its own. If you're standing, you never take the pole and females out of the center area, and you don't get any blaze stacks. That should be an achievement.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if you can get the whole raid team to do that, and you do that, not only do you get an achievement, but you just crash all the other servers, so that way you can do mythic progression faster. So it's...
I actually, the strat I just said is the LFR strat, where tanks, for some reason, like to tank them in the center and never move them.
Right.
That's how we take the bosses. We move out of Whirlwind, but that's about it. We take them in the center. No fight.
Well, look at you, Mr. Pro.
Come on!
Works for
Fire!
us.
Come at me!
Yeah.
All right. Well, he also asked least fun fight, and I think most of us are probably in agreement. Korag.
Yes.
I think the chat room says Korag and Tectis for
I
some
said
people.
I love Tactus, man.
Tectis is fun.
As
I
a
like
healer, it is the most boring fight ever.
Yeah, okay, as a healer, it sucks. This is true.
Yeah,
It's like monk healer.
You don't do anything, and then you do a little bit, and then you don't do anything, you a little bit, and then all of a sudden you run around mountains, and it's like, what am I doing?
Right,
Why
and
am I
it's
here?
just like
You can
go to
stand
cast
away from everybody.
Yeah, except for you still get
melee.
stuff targeted at you. So it's like you go to cast uplift, and it's like rise, man. Fuck you, Tectus. So yeah.
I enjoy it as a monk because you sit in melee and you don't have to do any mechanics. Like you just sit there. You have to do the one with the not the upheaval, but the rock that comes up for a second.
Right.
And
Rise
That's
mountain.
all you have to worry about. And if your positioning's fine, you don't have to worry about the barrage. It's a really simple fight, and that makes it really boring for me because all I do is heal tanks or fist weave.
Right.
It's like this may as well be.
Yeah, it's boring, but Korag is annoying boring.
See,
So-
I gotta go with Butcher.
You don't like Butcher?
As a DPS fight, Butcher is just...
boring.
Oh no, man!
Oh,
it's
did
like
something! Oh,
with that
You mess up one button, there goes your top parse.
like Duke
That's
cares
not
about top
fun.
parses.
You're running Serenity too, so you mess up one thing, and you're like,
Yep.
it's a challenge. It's good stuff.
topping the meters is not a challenge. The challenge is surviving
Really,
the fight all the way through. That's why I don't really... Lord knows I'm not topping meters in my raid. So, well, how many times did I screw up that cast? No, I should have cast
You're topping the
Fist of
damage
Fury more
taken
times.
meters.
All right. How about exciting moments? Most exciting moments has to be the first heroic butcher fight I did, where it's like we lived, and it's like you survive with one person up. That 30% with Butcher is just insanity and crazy, and that's probably the most exciting time we have in that.
I was gonna say for me, it was we'd gotten Twin Ogeron down like once or twice, but we hadn't gotten Tectis or Brackenspore down. And then one night we literally one-shot Twin Ogeron, one-shot Tectis, one-shot Brackenspore. It's like everything just kind of fell in, and we finally got some progression in, it was a great night.
Yeah. And it's always good, those good progression nights.
I think for me, since Rolling Thunder, my wife has now joined us as a raider, it's usually very interesting to hear her when Twin Ogre on Fire goes off. Because she's a mage, standing all the way over there. And all I hear is, and this was like the first couple of times. Now she's okay, but the first couple of times she's like, "Where am I supposed to go? There's fire everywhere I look. There's fire. Where am I supposed to go?" And
Supposed to
like,
go in
"Yeah,
your ice
welcome to
block."
raiding." Basically, it's like just hide. And it's hilarious because she plays a gnome mage, female gnome mage with the little pink.
Pigtails, yeah.
Pom-poms, pigtails, boar tails, they call them in the game
course.
because there's no pigs. And it's just funny to watch her run around with those things flapping in the air behind her, and she's like, "Where am I supposed to go?"
I just remember because I'm healing that fight, and I remember going like, "Okay, she's out of range. Where is she?" And I look around, she's like over
She's halfway
in
across the room. She's
Zimbabwe.
like, "I'm going to Korok, guys. You guys got..."
I'm just like, what are you doing over there?
There's a really easy way to avoid fire in that fight where it involves very little movement. It's actually just a sidestep and a step back. Where if you
Yeah.
stand wherever the axe spawns. I don't know if you've seen this video. There's a video
Yeah,
on YouTube.
that video is
explains it.
hilarious.
Beautiful video where you just stand behind to the right of the axe, you move right, you move left, done. It's like a wonderful thing for every ranged person to know about. It's totally worth it to run over to an axe if it's not near you.
I loved the time that he got double hit with the interrupting shout and is just like it's great.
We lost a family-friendly rating. It's okay, Chai.
Yeah. I'm not going to scream it. All right. Any last questions in the dojo before we move on?
There was one about for Brewmaster, which is the level 45 talent you think is best. I like Power Strikes.
Yeah.
It works really well with Chi Explosion because that extra Chi to kind of. Unfortunately, everything kind of for me revolves around making sure my Chi Explosion doesn't cripple my energy. Because you have to keep getting, making sure you have enough Chi, and so that Power Strikes has kind of been my go-to.
Yeah.
At this point,
you generate enough brew. You don't really need the Chi brew part of it, and you don't need that on burst Chi very much. So yeah, Power Strikes is more Chi overall is good. So All right. Well, I think it's time to put the brew away, guys. So, guys, please please rate us on iTunes, on Stitcher, subscribe on YouTube, or on Twitch.tv. And would you like to help support the show and make it even better? You can become our boss by going to patreon.com/monkmeditation. You can help guide the future of the show and get some fun rewards along the way. All right, and Air, got any shout-outs?
I do this week. So, I was running Skyreach Heroic because I want that fist weapon off the final boss because it looks great, and I'm a fan of Transmog, and I have fist weapons right now, so why not? So, running this dungeon, get in there, and I get this whisper from a druid healer. And he's saying, hey, are you Air? Like, yeah. Big happy face, I'm in, So, hey, he watches the show and wanted to say hello to everybody. So, big shout out to More Deeps on US Proudmoore. Thanks for listening, and really, thanks for keeping me alive, because I might have stood in a little bit of fire and stuff here and there. So, thank you, More Deeps.
All right, and Monkey-O, any shouts?
Just one guy asked me to do a shout out for him. His name is User. It's probably the most generic name. It sounds like I made it up, but his name is User. He's been asking me questions and stopping by. We having pretty nice chats about monks and both Windwalker and Mistweaver. So shout out to him. And I want to pass on a message from Raynor, although I'll paraphrase it a little bit. And just say that,
it up a little? Yeah.
Yeah, he says, I love all monks, and I want you guys to keep talking about everything monk and keep discussion, as lively as it's ever been.
All right,
I think that's a decent
I
paraphrase.
believe that does hit the spirit of what Raynor wanted to say.
All right, and I'm going to give a shout out to my coworker for giving me the idea to break out our boss tips and tricks into separate videos. So if you see a monk underperforming on a certain fight, you can toss him to our YouTube channel. We have a playlist of just our Fist of Fury section for each individual boss. I'll be putting up an Imperator later.
Impregnator.
Yeah, Margok. There we go. I'll put Margok up later, and I still need to get Butcher and Kargath, but I'll get those up. But the other bosses are up there, and we'll do more getting into Blackrock Foundry. All right. Any other shout-outs today?
I want to shout out to people in the chat room because they watch our show and they ask for a shout out. I also shout out to Sentinels of the Multiverse. It was a great night away from raiding and
That was
killing
a lot
evil
of fun.
villains.
That was-
And I played with Mr. Fixer, who is the monk equivalent, so you guys can all appreciate it.
Yeah, Mr. Fixer is a lot of fun to play, too. All right. As part of the Monk community, if you have a blog, website, or person you want to see in the show, reach out to us via email at show@monkmeditation.com. The Monk community is the best one in the world of Warcraft, and we want to showcase it. Hey, Duke, how can the dojo best reach us?
Well, you can follow the show at monk_meditation. Follow Chai T at WowMonk. Air can be found at Airwalker. Guanshu is at Geek of Random. LeBlue is at Kagarai_LeBlue. I can be found at Daikatsu CTR. And Monkyo can be found at Monkyo.
All right, thank you all for listening. You can watch us live Monday, February 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 100 UTC at twitch.tv/WildMonk. You can also visit monkmeditation.com for links for all the ways to watch and listen to the show. Monk Meditation is part of Catalyst Gaming Media. For other great gaming blogs, podcasts, and events, visit catalystgamingmedia.com. That wraps up this episode of Monk Meditation.
May your brews be strong and your heart